Hello and welcome back. In this series of tutorials on Google Calendar, thus far we've looked at things you could do on a single calendar. So we've looked at adding events, editing events, setting up repeating events, the use of reminders, the use of tasks, how to integrate Google Keep with Google Calendar, or actually how to use it in that integrated environment. But today we're going to look at how to view multiple calendars. So one of the great strengths of Google Calendar is that once you have an account, you can create more than one calendar. And this is a big step in the organizational process, because if certain events in my life are compartmentalized, perhaps I have events that are going on in my personal life, I have other events that are going on in my work life, perhaps I'm a softball coach or I'm volunteering in some way and there are events that are associated with that. By putting them on separate calendars, I can choose to turn off those calendars for a period of time. Maybe softball season is over and I don't need to see anything, so I just turn them off and I can turn them back on next season. But I can also share those particular calendars with other people. So the people that are associated with the softball team can see all the relevant information without seeing information about other aspects of my life. So that's really where the beauty of this whole system lies. Now, if you've noticed in the past, and I'm sure you have, that I have a lot of check boxes and multiple names over here in the left column, that's because these are all different calendars. If I look here under My Calendars, the top section, these are calendars that I've created, that I own, and that I have full control over. There's another section below that called Other Calendars, and these are calendars that other people have created and shared with me. So I don't own them, I can't delete them, they could revoke my permission to look at them or to work with them if they wanted. But they're just other calendars that I can at current access. Okay, also notice that these series of check boxes, many of them are unchecked. Only the first one is really checked right now. And if I were to uncheck that, everything would go away. That's because once a check is in the box, it's showing you the events on that particular calendar. So very often, you would want a whole series of those calendars checked. I'd want to see my reminders, which are on a separate calendar, and there they go. I'd want to see my tasks, and there they are. And in my personal life, I have my wife's calendar shared with me. I have my calendar for my daughter for her events. I have various work calendars that I need to look at. And so the things that I need to look at every day are checked, and therefore I can see my entire set of obligations, events, upcoming activities, etc. Options for a particular calendar or associated with a particular calendar can be accessed by mousing over that calendar name, and now you'll see the traffic light or the snowman appears. And when you click there, you can see that one thing I can do is I can pick a different color. So I can say, I don't really want that red, I'd prefer that orange. And now events associated with that calendar change to that color. Now, if you've shared a calendar with another person, changing this will not affect their view. Everyone has control over this in their own view, even if it's your calendar. So know that. You can't really color code this for somebody else, but you can for yourself. Note also that we've looked at this before, that if a time isn't associated with an event, or if an event spans multiple days, even with a start time, you're going to see that event in a big block with the color of the calendar. Whereas if the event has a particular start time and exists on a single day, you're going to see that as a colored bullet, but the color will be the same. Okay, so one thing you can do here is you can edit the colors of your events if you want, if that makes it easier for you to distinguish, at a quick look. I can also click this Display Only This Calendar button, and it's going to uncheck anything else I have checked. Okay, so if I want to focus on one thing, maybe it's the summer and there are various things. Not currently doing softball. I don't need to worry so much about work things that might be coming up or calendars people have shared with me. That's a quick way to shut everything off. Note also that there's a settings and sharing option here, and we're going to look at that in a separate video. But this is where you can really get control, especially over calendars that you've created. Also note that if I click on I'll shut that off. But if I mouse over reminders and I click on the traffic light, I don't have as many options. That's because special calendars such as reminders and tasks have fewer options for me to control. They're set up in a certain way, and really the only thing I can do is choose to display them or not to display them. If I come down to a calendar that's been shared with me and I click on the little stop sign, you can see that not only do I have this display only and these settings, and again the settings may be more limited than I would have if I owned the calendar, and we'll look at that when we get to that video, but I can also hide it from the list. Now if I do that, this 4th grade calendar, wow, that drops right off my list. I haven't lost it completely, but I would have to go back on and set it to display on my list before I would see it again. And again, we'll look at that as we get into the settings and the overall controls of the calendar. Okay, so that's basically it. You have to know to check the boxes when you want to see them. Unchecking them will hide those particular events from you. And mousing over or selecting a particular calendar will give you access to this traffic light where all of your options that are associated with that calendar are available.